Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Julie, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, this is great. This is great. I'm pumped to have you on. It's always fun to have someone on who kind of has a multidisciplinary approach to what we're doing here. So for you, your background is both in real estate, but also in helping people like me get out there and publish themselves in publish their books on what it is that they've done. So if you can kind of give us and ask the same question to every single person, where'd you start? Where are you now? And how'd you get there?
Yeah, you bet. So 2001, taking you back. I had a coworker. Yeah, I mean, it feels like a long, this year feels like 10, but anyway.
Correct. You're right about that.
So 2001, a coworker told me that I should read a book that I'm sure most of your listeners have read, if not heard of, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Sure.
And that kind of got me thinking about getting my money working for me. So that got me into real estate because at the time I was going back to school to do my MBA. And I just kept thinking, well, while I'm a student, I don't want to be creating a business. I want to focus on school. So what can really build money or at least have me graduate with something other than just debt? And real estate was the answer. So I bought my first 2 properties with my savings for my MBA and then got a student loan to pay for my MBA. But it got me started in real estate. And I ended up I ended up partnering with my boyfriend really right in the beginning. And we started buying a house or 2 every year until 2008. And then, because crazy people do this, we quit our jobs and focused on real estate investing full time in 2008, which real estate history buffs will know how glorious that year was. But there was a lot of deals to be found. So yeah, we went into, we were buying a house a month at that kind of 2009 and beyond, and then shifted to commercial, 6 years later.
Right. So you weathered the storm in 07, 08, and not only weathered it, but then continued to buy.
Yeah. 2008 wasn't a great year. We moved back in with my parents in order to, I know it's like the thing everybody wants to do, but it allowed us to take all the capital that we had and funnel it into the opportunities, because people with cash in that environment actually, in most cases, came out really strongly, which is, what we were able to do. But you had to ride out a couple of really, really hard years.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. But good for you for weathering that and then coming out on top and having the foresight to buy. I mean, that's the one lesson that everybody's repeated over and over is that, gosh, if you had the fortitude to buy in 08, in 09, when markets were at the bottom, then you've done really well with that. So let's fast forward then. You bought some commercial assets 6 years later. You've scaled that side of it. And then can you kind of walk us through kind of how you scaled those purchases and money raising and book publishing? Tell us all you can.
Yeah, you bet. So, as we were focusing on real estate investing, I also started building a real estate training and education company. And we were in Canada. We're in Los Angeles now, but we're Canadians, so we were doing that. And so in Canada, the education company started to grow my platform. So I started to do a lot of YouTube videos and speaking and things like that. And so some publishers approached me, and I really, honestly, as a kid, I wanted to be a writer, but somebody told me writers don't make money. And so I ended up, doing business school and then doubling down and doing an MBA after that, and then getting into real estate. So when I started to talk to the publishers, this was a dream come true. I was going to get a book deal, but they didn't like my real estate book idea that I had. And the Wiley was one of the major publishing houses. And they said, you know what? We don't like your book idea, but we like you. So they gave me an idea that they were looking for an author to write. And we went back and forth for 3 months on this book proposal. I assumed I was getting a book deal. They ended up coming back and saying, the marketing department doesn't think you have a strong enough platform to sell books. So they rejected my book idea, and now they were rejecting me. And I was pretty devastated, but it was the greatest gift. Truly, I'm so, so grateful for it, because once my ego recovered, which took, 6 months, almost a year, I wrote the book that I really knew needed to be written and that I wanted to write in the first place. And I self-published it. And I ended up I'm not the kind of person who goes, well, I'll just try this. I was like, I'm the kind of person who goes all in. And I dove into self-publishing with a vengeance. I was thinking, I'm going to do this better than if Wiley had given me a book deal. And I did. I took the book to #1 on Amazon. I had a Game of Thrones. I had a Dan Brown. I sold thousands and thousands of print copies. They haven't debuted a real estate book at #1 in Canada. So yeah, I kind of, like I said, I don't dabble.
Good for you.
And the reality is, besides the fact that I made 8 times more money on the book than I would have if I got a book deal, I actually got to write the book that I really knew needed to be written. And I kept all rights and royalties and control. So a lot of things. And as I saw some of my friends that got book deals, one of them, his book, there was a production company that wanted to turn it into a series for HGTV, but Wiley wouldn't negotiate. And so he had to buy back the rights from his book just to film the pilot with this production company. And then it didn't get greenlit. So yeah, I mean, I have so many stories too, and that's why I think it's the greatest gift. It also had the unintended benefit of raising a lot of capital for our business. So it benefited the real estate training company because people started coming to us going, I want to learn what's in your book. And there was no sales cycle. It was like, how much? And credit card here. Like, it really built trust. But also the phone started ringing with people we'd never met. And they were saying, I read your book. I want to invest with you. I like your style. And so we ended up raising more and more money. And we thought, well, why do we keep buying houses when we could put all this capital into commercial? And so we started moving into commercial that way. And in the meantime, I started to just go deep into the book world and love every minute of it and see gaps in the market, which is ultimately what led me to start Book Launchers, which, if you don't mind, I'll just kind of point out the 2 gaps, and then you can ask whatever questions. Is that cool?
Yeah, okay. Please. No, I did. You're on a roll. Keep going.
Okay. So in all of this, and starting to actually help, some of the Wiley authors started coming to me going, hey, your book is doing so well. How can we learn from you? And so I started to see 2 big things. One was that in the self-publishing space, there was, really great people who would edit your book or write your book or even market your book. There was nobody going, okay, here's how you're going to market your book. Let's make sure we write the book that's going to be marketable. There was nothing that had it all under one roof. It was all piecemeal. Even if you found a company that would take you to the book, they didn't do the marketing. So there was a gap. It wasn't all in one place. And honestly, people think writing the book's the hardest part. Marketing it and selling it is harder. And so if you don't have a clear plan from the minute you start writing, you're setting yourself up for a lot of problems. And I worked with self-published authors who write the book and then figure out how to sell it. But if you remember in my story, I was turned down because they didn't think I was going to sell enough books. So before we were even doing a book deal, they were making sure that the book was going to be marketable. So there's this weird gap between traditionally published authors and self-published authors, where traditionally published companies, they're all figuring out how you're going to sell your book before you write it. But self-published authors, for whatever reason, are writing the book and then figuring out how to sell it. And they're missing that piece. And so the combination of just needing it all under one roof, so it's simple and set up for the best chance of success, and knowing that you want your book to be as good or better than a traditionally published book, so that it does give you the credibility. You can get people giving you $250,000, those kind of things. It just really opened my eyes to the fact that there's a need for this service. And also, there's scammy companies out there, kind of like in the real estate space. There's scammy companies too, and they'll sell you on the vision of what the book is going to do, but they're taking some of your rights, or they're taking some of your royalties, and they're really not giving you a great product that's setting you up to win. So, taking all of that, I dreamed up this business that I absolutely love. And I feel like my entire life just brought me right to where, gave me all the hard lessons I needed to learn so that I could run this company and really help a lot of people put out great books.
Wow, that's fantastic. So you see a gap in the marketplace, and I'm just reiterating this for my own clarification, in that traditional publishers will obviously want to make sure that what they produce sells, obviously, because if no sales of books, they don't make any money.
Right.
And you say that, hey, self-publishers, which I guess, even today, I wouldn't have necessarily known that there's a different, I just, I'm learning as we go. But so there's a self-publisher, and you're saying that guy, the people that, say I want to write a book, we just kind of go, hey, look, I love the book idea. I write the book, but I haven't yet thought about how I'm going to sell it. It might even be kind of like, remodeling a house, but never really thinking about the end buyer.
Exactly.
before you've done the remodel. So what's the process that you walk through with people and say, okay, let's figure out if we can sell whatever it is you want to write? Like, how do you even determine that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that the very first conversation I have with people, or somebody on my team has with someone, is really figuring out who is the reader of the book. So that's first and foremost, who's your reader? And I know I've got a problem if somebody says, "Oh, it's everyone." Because if it's for everyone, it's for nobody, right? I'm sure we've all heard that.
Sure.
The other problem is if they tell me it's a demographic, right? Like it's, and I always laugh at this because I have so many examples, but I'll stick with one that I hear all the time is it's for women between the ages of 40 and 60. Well, let me tell you what, I fall into that category there. And that does not mean your book is going to be for me. In fact, because I'm a very unique kind of person, a little different than your average person, as most of us are, right? But like, why would I buy your book then? And if you dive into it, you have to be solving a specific problem. And that problem, everybody's going to solve their problem differently. We all need a doctor at some point in our life, but we all have a different thing that we want in that doctor. Some of us want a naturopath. Some of us want a doctor that's going to, care about us. Others just want one that's going to go, okay, this is what's wrong with you. Here's what you need to do. Everybody has preferences as to how they're going to solve their problems and fulfill their needs. So you have to know your reader well enough that you know what their problem is and how they're trying to solve it and why it's not working and how you're going to fulfill it. So there's kind of a few pieces there. And so if you don't know your reader, you're not going to be able to write a book that you're going to be able to market at the end.
Right. So somebody calls you and they don't have this clearly defined and you yell at them and say, get off the phone, go figure it out, and then come back and talk to me. I doubt it. Do you have a process in place where you help people actually, work their way through that? And you say, hey, look, here's a worksheet, go home, come back to me in a month when you got this filled out. Like, how does that work?
Kind of. I mean, so sometimes I have to make sure there actually is going to be a person there because some people are really hung up. If they're writing a memoir, for example, they're really hung up on the fact that this book is inspirational for everyone. And so those folks, I have to gently say, like, you need to get more clarity. And I walk them through this. And I do send those folks away because they're just too far away. And if you believe something, no worksheet's going to change your mind. Sure. But if somebody's lacking clarity, but you can see the problem, there's a clear problem, so there's a solution, there's a person that's going to need it, then we can walk them through it. The next piece is to understand their goals for writing this book. So if you want to raise money with your book, then you think about, okay, who's going to be the ultimate person that you want the book to land in the hands of so that you can raise capital for your book. And so you can kind of get to the reader in a few different ways by figuring out, okay, what's your goal? What's the problem that you solve? How do you solve it in a unique way? You can start to then back out who your reader is. So there's definitely ways to get there. But there's a difference between saying it's like believing it's everybody and just not being clear. If you're not clear, we can get you there. If you really truly believe it's everybody, you're not going to get value out of our service. So
right. And that's okay too. And I wasn't trying to make a totally snarky comment earlier, but yeah, you're right.
No, it's legit. It's legit.
Yeah. I mean, if like you said, if it's for everybody, it's probably for nobody. So, it's not going to be good for that publisher or the person that wrote the book or the reader in the end.
Exactly.
So let's not waste each other's time. But it sounds like you've become clear on how to make your authors clear on what it is that they are publishing. Walk us through because I know part of the thing that you said, you made 8 times the amount of money by self-publishing.
Yep.
So how do authors retain their rights to their products as they come and work with you?
Yeah. So we're a services company. So, I mean, you might consider us a publisher, but ultimately our authors are the publishers. So we walk them through setting up a publishing company. Usually it's just a DBA, like a fictitious business under whatever other business they're already operating or under their own personal name. And then we just do a lot of the work for them. So we have writers that will write the book, or we have writing coaches that will coach you through writing it, depending on which category you fall in. And some people kind of fall in a hybrid of both. They kind of write some of it, and then the writer writes some of it. And then we have a team of editors that actually 3 different kinds of editing. So all of those things kind of are done for you. But at the end of the day, everything is yours. So the accounts that we set up for publishing and distributing, those are your accounts. All of the files are yours. We give them all to you. All the ideas, we do title brainstorming and all that stuff. Everything belongs to you at the end of this process. So we're just like contractors doing the work with you and for you. But we don't publish your book. You're the publisher.
Right, man. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah. And I bet a lot of the mainstream publishing companies love you for what you're doing for these authors.
The mainstream publishing. I mean, in many ways, I have a good relationship with some of the publishing houses because there's books that they know are good, but they're not going to publish them because the market, their business case for them isn't strong enough. And so I've had publishers say that they're really glad that companies like ours exist because these books really do deserve to be out there, but they're just not going to fit with a traditional publishing model. So, because the publishing houses are struggling. It is a harder business than ever because Amazon squeezed their margins. And even though people are still buying books, in fact, this year's been a banner year for book buying because people are sitting on their bum at home wondering what to do. So they've bought books. But the margins have gotten really, really small. So they can't take a risk on an author like they may have in the past. And they'll turn people away if they don't have that guaranteed sale, which, kind of people are wondering. They're looking for people with 100,000 plus newsletter subscribers, 1 million plus followers on social media. That's with the exception of educational, like some of the university publishing houses, that's what they're looking for. And that's how you're going to get a deal, unless you have a really unique perspective on a trending hot topic so they can see how that market might fit. But it's hard to get a traditional deal. And I always question whether you'd want it anyways, because it's your IP, your intellectual property. And it's one of the greatest assets that you have. So you should own it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. What's a timeline? Like, how long does it take? I don't know. Every book's different, I'm sure. But, let's say we're writing an 80-page book, something real estate related. Like, how long does something like that typically take from concept to completion?
Yeah. So first of all, we'd want your book to be at least 125 pages because we want it thick enough for a spine that will have a title on it. Because again, we're really writing books that are traditionally published book quality or better. Sure. And anything that doesn't have the title on the spine kind of looks like a booklet, right? It's like a pamphlet. Right. And we're really going for something that, somebody's going to pick it up and go, yeah, I would give this guy $100,000 for a deal. That's the kind of, and speaking engagements, a lot of our clients are doing speaking engagements. You need a book. so at least 125 pages, which is about 30,000 words. So it's not even, it's not that hard to write. But that said, it's going to take longer than you want it to. That's pretty much my guarantee. Because again, we're going to put it through 3 rounds of editing. You can write a book really fast. And there's companies that will help you put out a book really fast. But I hear from too many people that they're not proud of those. They're kind of embarrassed. Like, that was my tester book, or that, I don't talk about that book. I hear that right all the time. I never want that for someone. So 6 months is the fastest that we've had anybody go through. Most of our clients, it'll take 9 to 15 months to get their book out. And then the way we're set up, you can work with us forever if you want to, because every month that you're with us, we will be marketing your book, pitching you for podcasts and live appearances and bulk buys where they're appropriate and those kind of things. So some of our clients are with us for a long, long time, and some are rolling into book 2 or book 3. So we can create really long-term relationships with people because they're using their book as a tool and it's benefiting them in so many ways.
Right. That's awesome. Julie, let's jump into the final 4 here.
Yeah.
You're to distill everything you know, and we're going to keep this book related. Everything you know to write about writing a book, and you're going to give one piece of advice to an aspiring author. What's that one piece of advice you would give?
Because we're talking real estate, and I've read a bazillion real estate books. Don't be boring. Find something interesting to say. Have a unique spin on how to calculate cash flow and where to invest.
Right. That's fair. That's fair. Come up with something new. That's awesome. What's one thing you're currently doing to stay on top of your game?
Oh my goodness. I listen to podcasts. I read. You kind of have to, especially the publishing industry, it's changing all the time. So yeah, I read the industry newsletters and listen to the podcast talking about the latest.
Right. Gotcha. And when it comes to giving back, what's one thing you're doing to make the world a better place?
Well, I'm helping authors put books out there into the world that help a lot of people. So that's really my focus in the moment. And I'm raising a son, and my goal is to have him be a kind person, and I really think that will give back too.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hats off to all the mothers out there. My goodness. I can't, yeah. Well done. That's awesome. And when it comes to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, head over to booklaunchers.com. And if you want to write a book, go to booklaunchers.com/7 steps, the number 7 steps. And you can download our 7 steps to write and publish a book that will sell. And when you get that email, you can actually hit reply. It's a little secret there, and it actually does go to me. So if you want to connect with me directly, that will actually get you to me. But booklaunchers.com has all the information on our services and some videos and things like that too.
Awesome. Julie, thank you so much for your time. Certainly appreciate it. This was great.
Thank you.